This week, Sap and I were lucky enough to have our old friend Mike Molyneaux join us, and we had such a good time and so many heated discussions that we ended up having to break this podcast into two parts. So, this is the first part. Myself, Jet Stryer, John Sapichetti, and Mike Molyneaux for the Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sap, presented by Full Press Coverage. Here is Part 1. The NBA gives us so much off-the-court stories. I feel like more than any other league, so much of the attention in the NBA and so much of what is interesting about the NBA is it has all this off-the-court drama, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's serious. This week it happened to be serious with Miami Heat big man Meyers Leonard, formerly of the Portland Trail Blazers. He's been out virtually the whole season with a shoulder injury, but he decided to make his presence on this NBA season known. Live streaming on, I think it was Twitch, where people, Sap, this is for you. You don't know because you're old. Video games aren't played on just Atari anymore.
I know Twitch.
All right. He wasn't playing Pong. He was playing a shooter game. Okay. Probably modern warfare, some sort of Call of Duty. And he's a big streamer guy. I remember when he moved into the bubble, he brought like 3 computers to stream video games. He loves playing video games on Twitch.
Probably how he got hurt carrying all this equipment.
Possible. He also loves to shout racial epithets on Twitch when he gets shot in the head. Meyers Leonard said a no word. It is the K word for a derogatory term for Jews like myself. The backlash was swift, and the apology was, I'd say, less than satisfactory. Here's the problem. It goes both ways. It's two sides of a bad coin. If you do something that is deemed racist or sexist or homophobic, people are very, very quick to give you backlash, as they should be. But people are also very quick to just say, you're done, you're canceled, no more. And I do think that there needs to be some sort of context when it comes to players. I'm going to speak on this as a Jewish guy. That word is extremely offensive, and it should not be used in any sort of polite company or impolite company. It's just it's a slur, without a doubt. However, I do believe that the intent behind a word and the action you use to use a word matters to me more than the word itself. I think he said it from a place of ignorance and a place of he was frustrated in a video game. What's the worst word I can think of right now? And then he said the K word. So I weigh that into it. Should he be suspended? 100%. Should he be fined? 100%. Should he seek education? Absolutely. But should he be banished from the NBA for life? I just don't think that that's fair. And again, I'm Jewish and I'm offended by it, but I just don't think that that's the right way to go about it. If he were to walk up to a Jewish person and call him, hey, K word, and do it in a derogatory manner, that's a different question. See ya, goodbye, you don't deserve a profession. But you're getting paid millions of dollars. But I think this is a little bit different and a little bit nuanced, and people are too quick to just cancel. And I don't want to come off like I'm supporting him. I'm offended as a Jew, and I think this apology, which I'll read in a second after I get your guys' take on it, was at best lackluster, at worst a downright lie. But it's a tricky situation. But I will say, as a Jewish person, I do think I want to take some of the context into consideration here and think of him. I think it's more fair to call Meyers Leonard a stupid person and an ignorant person than an anti-Semitic person. That's my opinion. And I could be wrong. I don't know the guy, but I'm curious what you guys think. Mike, do you have any opinions on this? Because, it's something I'm sure that hits close to your heart, too, because we've heard it in sports multiple times with the N-word being uttered by white players.
Yeah. Everything, you made a lot of good points. Jet. One of my big issues was the fact that his apology was the typical, generic apology that you get when these situations happen. And for the majority of the times when you get these generic apologies that come up, it's just a lie. I don't believe that what you said about him using it, just being upset in the video game. I've played video games, I've been upset at sports games when I miss a 3 or throw an interception or something. I've never thought to say any kind of wild.
That's fair.
Being that upset, but some people, they get upset. They say wild things out of being angry. I get what you saying there, Jet. My thing is when he comes out and says, I know you're going to read the apology, saying like he didn't know what it meant. That's BS. He's lying there. And I'm sick of these apologies coming out where it's just, I need to better educate myself and I need to do my research. Like, yeah, it's easy to say that now, but you're not uttering these words because, I just heard it. Let me just say it because he knows.
It's in his vocabulary, probably. Right?
Exactly.
That's in his vocabulary.
He knows what the word means. He didn't just say it because just some random word I heard one time, so I'm going to say it because he knows what the word means. And if you listen to the clip, and this is just my opinion, if you listen to the clip of him saying, he paused and then said it. Like he formalized the thought to say the word. So he's not he didn't say it out of a place of, I just didn't know, I just said something random. He knew what he said. And then for him to drop that apology letter saying, I need to do research because I didn't really know what I was saying or whatnot. Now that's BS. That's where the lies come in. And that's what makes a bad situation even worse, in my opinion, when you're just piling lies on top of it.
There's not much I can add that you guys have already said. I mean, you're both spot on. The point that always irritates me about this is if I've offended anyone. That's always in the apology. I don't believe in his apology. It is. But then he says that he didn't know what the word meant, which is BS.
Yeah, no one believes that part of it.
Right. He's not a 5-year-old. I mean, I have a 5-year-old niece. If you say something in front of her, she's going to repeat it. She doesn't know what it is, but she's 5 years old. I mean, this is a grown man who's 31, 32. He's been in the league like 9 years. Went to college, plays in a league with many minorities, right, and Jewish owners. So I think if he has half a brain, or maybe a quarter of a brain, he understands that the N word and the K word probably aren't really two words that you should ever use in any context. So should he be banned? I think he's probably going to end up being banned organically. He's a jag. He's just another guy. He's not good enough.
Yeah, that's part of the story,
enough.
Right?
He's, and I'm going to sound offensive here by saying he's kind of like the big white stiff backup center. And there's like plenty of those in the league. So organically, he's probably going to get banned. I mean, Kobe Bryant, may he rest in peace, had homophobic slurs coming from the bench. He wasn't getting banned. He was one of the best, if not the best player in the league at that time. So, there are different rules for different people. That's the way the world works. So organically, he's probably never going to play again in the NBA because who wants to touch him at that point, right? And
not good.
Yeah, I mean, and Donald Sterling rightfully lost his franchise for what he had to say. So I don't really see Meyers Leonard playing in the NBA again. But I 100% agree with Jet. We can't just have this cancel culture for everyone, because we've all said stupid things, and then at some moment say, "Man, I wish I didn't say that. That was kind of stupid to say that." And you just can't cancel everybody. But I know Jet's going to read the apology. The person that came through this incredibly is someone who really had nothing to do with it, is Julian Edelman. And Julian Edelman reached out and sent a letter to...
Yeah, and he did the same thing earlier with Deshaun Jackson at the beginning of the football season. Yeah, he's like he's the Jewish ambassador.
He really is. And think about it. I mean, what professional athlete of Jewish faith is really better known than Julian Edelman? I mean, Ryan Braun probably should have.
We don't have a lot, Sap. We don't have a lot of great professional athletes.
No, and Ryan Braun is a former MVP, but I don't think anybody pays attention to Ryan Braun since the PED episode from almost
play baseball, so no one
plays baseball. No one follows that anyway. I mean, Edelman is
in Milwaukee
Super Bowl MVP. So, and Edelman he nailed it. He's like, I'd like to meet with you. We go to lunch and we can talk. Maybe I can educate you, rather than coming out and saying, let's just, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. Let's cancel the guy. And Julian Edelman reached out to Deshaun Jackson back before the season, and Deshaun Jackson had posted something that was inaccurately attributed to Adolf Hitler. He also quoted or used some text from Louis Farrakhan. At no point should you ever be posting anything from Adolf Hitler. That's just not generally going to be a good place to go.
It's a good life
Julian
rule.
Edelman, it's a good life rule.
Don't quote Adolf Hitler. Don't quote Mussolini.
Right, yeah.
Don't quote slave owners. Don't quote Robert E. Lee.
Yeah, it's probably
in
a
general,
good idea. Stay away
those are
from
good.
there.
My sister always says at the end of her show, "Don't trend with the Holocaust." That's always a good
Right? Yeah,
rule of
exactly.
thumb.
Yeah,
Try not to do that.
or don't compare everything to slavery or cancer. Like I know we both have lost loved ones, Jet, to cancer, and when people say so and so is a cancer on the team, I really get offended by that. I would prefer you just say, and I'm not a politically correct guy. You can't be in this business. You have to kind of have that give and take. But when people use that term, I sometimes say, unless you've been exposed to what cancer is, never call someone a cancer in a clubhouse. They may be a distraction or a bad guy, but let's not go that far. And don't compare anything to slavery, and don't compare anything to the Holocaust. Those are things that I don't even think we can wrap our heads around. Yeah. So, and maybe, you guys can speak much more on that. I'm Italian American. We've gone through whatever problems over the years, but nothing compared to people of color or people of the Jewish faith who have been absolutely, I don't even know the word to use, just marginalized in this society. So yeah, I give a lot of props to Julian Edelman, because once again, he looks like the most mature guy in the room.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's complex too, because just because I'm Jewish and saying this one thing, or Mike is black and saying this one thing, doesn't mean that we speak for all Jewish or black people. We're not a monolith. Everybody has. Yep. I'm sure for a lot of Jewish people, they heard the word and that was it. Send Meyers Leonard to jail. That's the worst thing you could possibly do.
Yep.
And you're entitled to your own opinion. That's fair. How it hits you viscerally is different for every single person.
Right.
I'm saying, just from my perspective, that I would rather it be a teaching moment and an educational moment, not just for Meyers Leonard, but for anybody who has that word in their vocabulary, to realize that it's not just a throwaway word when you're frustrated or mad, that it actually there's meaning and history and significance behind it. As opposed to just saying, ban him, goodbye, go to the, he said a bad word, bye. I would rather what Edelman's saying, like, have Shabbat dinner with me. I think Edelman offered to take Sean Jackson to a concentration camp.
Into the Holocaust Museum too. Yeah,
the Holocaust Museum. So
that's great leadership.
That's the sort of stuff that I think
part.
needs to happen, and the same goes for when people say the N-word too.
Yeah.
Obviously, there should be repercussions, but isn't it a better way to build our society going forward to use it as teaching moments, as opposed to just saying we're going to bury this person and never talk about it again until the next time somebody does it?
I mean, one thing that I definitely want to see, because everything you're saying, Jet, right now, I agree with. Instead of burying somebody, there can be teaching moments. That's great. Julian Edelman wants to take these guys to the Holocaust Museum. That's great. But then there's also other side of it is just, again, going back to the point, these generic apologies and just they're not flying for me anymore.
You're right. Let me read it, Mike, so you can respond directly to it.
I can go off again. Yes.
Yeah. So this is what he said, and he posted it, on his social media, and he said, "I am deeply sorry for using an anti-Semitic slur during a live stream yesterday. While I didn't know what the word meant at the time, my ignorance about its history and how offensive it is to the Jewish community is absolutely not an excuse, and I was just wrong. I am now more aware of its meaning, and I am committed to properly seeking out people who can help educate me about this type of hate and how we can fight it. I acknowledge and own my mistake, and there's no running from it for something like this that's so hurtful to someone else. This is not a proper representation of who I am. I want to apologize." And then he listed, who he wants to apologize to, the Jewish community, his owners, the team, all Jewish people, past and present and future. So, yeah, Mike, that's the apology. So please go off on it.
We live in a society today. No one believes that apology. No one will read that apology like, oh, well, yeah, he didn't know. Like, come on. The world is too advanced, and with social media and the way people get, there's no way, like I think you said, was he 31, 32? He's a grown man, and you're going to sit here in an apology letter. Well, I didn't know what I said. You're not a child. You clearly have gotten through some schools and education in your life. So, like, these generic apologies that come out when these situations happen, they're not flying. Now, I guess people are trying to, when they present these letters to the public, especially you being, you're representing a team, an organization, you're trying to find the most politically correct things to say. You want to walk a fine line and whatnot. But at the same time, you also want to see some of these people be honest.
What do you want him to say, Mike? What would you like? What do you think he should say?
Like you said, I play video games. I've been upset. You say something like that. and being in his situation, I'm no professional basketball player. Like I don't represent any team or organization. So obviously, if he does something like that, it's gonna get broadcast, everywhere. Sometimes you got to take ownership in these situations. And yes, you can apologize. You want to apologize to the team and the organization and fans, but to just be honest with the fact that, look, I effed up, I messed up. Use better words than swears and whatnot, but take ownership with the fact of what you did. Step up as a man and as an adult. Take responsibility for it. I feel like that
the note thing itself too, like the not saying the words, the typing them out thing, I think is, that's the bare minimum is posting something to your social media as opposed to, letters. He has the ability, obviously he's Twitch streaming. Obviously he's the ability to go live and say the words and look into a camera and say it, right?
If he recorded a video and like said, look, I was playing a game. I take responsibility. I know what the word meant, and out of frustration and just it came from a place of ignorance. Accept the fact that you were ignorant of what you said and what you did, and proceed with apologies and whatnot. I think it would. I mean, people still be upset. Like I don't blame you at all. Like Jet, you said, I don't blame anybody for being upset at what happened. But if you take more responsibility for what happened and what you did, I think it would have kind of been a little bit better than coming out with this letter on your social media and then lying and saying, well, I had no idea what I was saying. Like, I think that's a route that people, especially people in the public eye, need to stop
and you can post a video on social media as easily, if not easier, than you can a letter. And sometimes when it's a video, it seems like it's more from the heart than he may not.
We don't even know that he wrote this. I mean,
that's exactly
He's got an agent. He's got a PR team.
Yeah, so they probably wrote this letter, and that was the end of it. It was kind of like when the Patriots congratulated Tom Brady for his season.
Belichick wrote that.
Yeah, Belichick wrote it. Belichick wrote a letter for President Trump. I get all that. So, but yeah, that to me is because you can see it in a man's eyes whether it's authentic or not. The other thing too is,
do you believe that he didn't know what the word meant?
Oh, of course he knew what the word meant. He's, like I said, he's 31 years old. He comes from a military family, so he's somewhat worldly. He's been exposed.
Well, by the way, that's a great thing to bring up, Sap, because he's one of the few people that stood up for the national anthem when it was in the bubble, which is fine, but it gives those people a really bad look today. I mean, really bad.
Or is he
barely or not? It gives them a terrible look.
Right. I mean, is this guy just a troll? I mean, is he a troll who decides in the bubble when everybody's wearing Black Lives Matter T-shirts and everybody is in unison, and this guy decides to stand in deference to his teammates? He's throwing out the K word. The owner of the Miami Heat is Jewish, Mickey Aronson, and Miami is a heavily Jewish community. It's like this guy might be a professional troll for all we know.
Yeah, he's not playing in Salt Lake City.
Right. Yeah. It's, where, or, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of bizarre. And again, I think organically he will be banned.
Because he's not good enough.
No one's right.
Obviously, we could do a whole other show on how there's double standards. If it was an all-star player, he'd be fine.
If Joel Embiid came out and said this, people would, say, well,
he'd be suspended and then he'd be back.
He'd be suspended and he'd be back. I mean, didn't Shaq mock Yao Ming with a Chinese accent and he got kind of reprimanded for it? I don't even think he got suspended or fined. It's Shaq.
Exactly.
The expectations aren't that high for Shaq.
No, but Mike's right in that it's just the apology is the worst. In a way, is the worst part of it because you're not owning up to it really because it's just such a generic copy and paste apology. It reminds me of. I don't know if either of you watched any older Dave Chappelle stand-up, but there's a joke where he's saying his white friend is speeding and the police officer pulls him over and he goes, "Sorry, officer, I didn't know I couldn't do that." And then the officer goes, "Okay, well, next time you know." And then he turns to Chappelle and says, "I did know I couldn't do that." So that's what it reminds me of, is that, he knew exactly what the word meant. And I think he racked his brain for what's the worst word I can think of right now. And that was the worst word he could think of right now. But again, I prefer to use him as teaching moments, especially since he didn't walk up to me or the Mickey Aronson and say, "Hey, you K word," go F yourself. Because I think that's a completely different situation.
Yeah.
The intent and the action behind a word, I think, show more of what the measure of that person is. Now, is Meyers Leonard am I saying he's a good guy? No, I don't know him, but I'm not ready to say he's a complete anti-Semitic scumbag because of this. I think he's stupid. I think he's a very dumb guy. I think he's a very ignorant person, but I'm not ready to say he's a complete anti-Semite who's irredeemable. I just don't think it's fair to go that far. We'll see what he does with his post-NBA life now, and what he does to try to help himself. But
I don't think he'll be doing much Twitch because it sounds like he lost a lot of sponsorships and whatnot through his twitching, whatever.
Oh yeah, those are gone. And I don't think he'll find a job in the Israeli league anytime soon.
No,
but we'll see. But it's unfortunately situations like this, whether it be slurs about black people, white people, gay people, Italian people, Hispanic people, they crop up in sports all the time. It's not a story that we do every other year. It's a story we do every year, sometimes multiple times a year in every sport. And it's it's a shame, but it's also reflective of where we are in society, is that there's a genuine lack of understanding and education from different racial groups, minorities, ethnicities, religions to each other. And that manifests itself in oftentimes social media, because people are so overly comfortable oversharing that they get caught on camera doing stuff like this. And again, that's what I'm saying. If he said it there, it's a word that he's around. It's a word that he's used in his vocabulary. It's the same as somebody who says the N-word, or the same as somebody like Montrezl Harrell called Luka Doncic a white boy earlier this season and got in trouble for that too. That's not as bad, obviously, but that's probably something that he commonly refers to white people as, and like makes fun of white people, which is fine. I'm all for making fun of white people. I'm all for making fun of Jewish people. But there's a line where it goes from making fun of somebody in good humor to using slurs and saying a word that you don't know the power or the meaning behind in a way to express frustration. That's just no way. And I'll say, Sap, when I was younger in high school, I used gay as a negative term. And I've now said, wow, I wish I didn't do that, because I know how hurtful that is now as I've gotten older and matured. And at the time, I'd be lying if I said I didn't know it was a bad thing to do. I just did it because I was young and dumb.
Well, because now as you get older, you're exposed to more people, right? So now you have gay friends. Exactly. Maybe in high school you didn't have gay friends. That's what makes this really perplexing, is this guy's been in the league for nearly a decade. He played college basketball. Like I said, he's from a military family, so he should be somewhat worldly, I think. So, he can't come out as like a 17 or 18-year-old. Or we see all of these posts that come out for, say, Josh Allen when he was 14 years old and he posted something on Twitter. And obviously a decade later, he's changed. He's a different guy than he was 14.
You can make a mistake.
Right. Exactly.
It's having a better response to it. That's the problem for me. Like,
exactly.
I can feel ashamed of what I did or what I said in high school, and I am embarrassed by that. But I've grown and changed too. But if I were to make a mistake today, I would at least try a lot harder than what Meyers Leonard did. And I'm not saying I won't make a mistake. I'm sure, Mike, you'll make a mistake in your next 70 years on planet Earth. Sap, in your next 100 years on planet Earth, I'm sure you'll make a mistake. That's one of my bold predictions. John Sapp lives to 150.
That's interesting. I may have to start drinking vodka like, the people in Georgia. The old Soviet Union, Georgia, they drink a lot of vodka and live to like 114.
But you can. So
if you saw what I ate tonight for dinner, I'm not going to make it for the next couple of weeks. But I appreciate your confidence.
The point being, you can plead ignorance when you're a kid.
Yeah.
But you can't plead it when you're adult. But you're still allowed to make a mistake when you're adult. Yep. It's how you respond to that and how you react to that. And I think that's the biggest problem I have right now with Meyers Leonard. Isn't so much that he said the word. Again, a lot of Jewish people would disagree with me and say that's the main problem. To me, it's that it was a copy and paste apology, and that until I see him actually trying to get better himself, then I'm not going to change my opinion.
Yeah, he made a bad situation much worse with his apology, and I think that's what it boils down to. We'll see how he tries to bounce back from this. I don't know. I don't know him personally. I wish him the best of luck. But like I said, he made a bad situation worse with that generic letter. So hopefully that's something that changes moving forward, how people respond when they do make mistakes. Like you said, Jet, it's human nature. We make mistakes. It happens in life, but how you respond to it and bounce back really can determine how you move forward.
Right. And there's obviously degrees of it. Like, if you're a teacher, Mike, if you were to say the F word in class by accident, that's a mistake. It's not as big a mistake as what Meyers Leonard did. So there's degrees of it too.
Yes.
And his is of the higher level of degrees of mistake. But I honestly think it was coming from a place of stupidity, not from a place of he hates Jewish people. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe he does. I don't know him. Never met him. He could take one look at me and my curly hair and say, I don't want anything to do with this guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. He also maybe he would say, are you good at video games? And that would be enough for him. I don't know.
Oh, you guys would hit it off with that. But I think, obviously, like I said earlier, I give a lot of props to Julian Edelman showing that type of leadership. He did it with Deshaun Jackson. He's going to try to do it with Meyers Leonard. And I think, that's great that Julian Edelman.
Meyers Leonard should take him up on it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Why? What's the hurt in doing that? Do it. And look, Julian Edelman sometimes surprises us. He's you kind of think of him as kind of the goofy party boy, frat boy, but he's a pretty deep thinker, and I'm really proud of him for again doing what is the right thing to do to show leadership.
Yeah, so we'll see how this story unfolds because there'll obviously be more to come depending on what Meyers Leonard decides is the right path for him, and I'm sure we won't see him in another NBA game anytime soon. I agree with you guys there. That has more to do with his skill set than what he said. So before we wrap up the show, which I've really enjoyed the show because it's gone long and I like talking a lot, and we've had some good topics to talk about. I want to end with your guys' top 5 heading into the second half of this season. Where do you see the top 5 of the teams? Maybe not when the season ends, but right now, today, March 10th, where are the top 5 teams? Sap, let's start with you. Okay,
in descending order, I'm going to go Phoenix, number 5, my long shot special, playing excellent basketball. They really had Brooklyn beat a couple weeks ago, and they just took their foot off the gas a little bit, and James Harden was spectacular that night and was able to come back from a 24-point deficit. So I've got Phoenix at number 5. I've got the Clippers at number 4. There still seems to be something wrong with the Clippers. Like, we can debate who's the most clutch player in the NBA. There is no debate who's the least clutch player in the NBA. It appears to be Paul George. And, he's part of the duo of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Yeah, playoff P or layoff P. Yeah, is that what you said? So the Clippers, there's still something wrong there. I don't know. And I think they need a point guard who's more of a leader because Kawhi's not a leader. Neither is Paul George. They're not leaders.
Rondo.
Rondo would have been the perfect guy there, even for just 1 year.
Go out and try to get Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry would be perfect there, wouldn't he? I mean, he played with Kawhi in Toronto, and he's the kind of guy that would get in the face of Paul George and Kawhi and say, all right, guys, you guys are like way more talented than me. Can you at least, show it here in a playoff series? So I've got the Clippers at 4. I've got the 76ers at 3. I have a tendency to overrate Ben Simmons. I think he does everything great on the basketball court except shoot, which is kind of a problem.
Missed this, Mike. This is just, it's like every week with Sapp and Ben Simmons. It's a love
Ben Simmons, yeah. Ben Simmons greater than Jason Tatum. I know that's not going to sit well with you guys. But, Jason Tatum is obviously a better shooter and scorer, but Ben Simmons does everything else better than Jason Tatum.
Don't have to relitigate this, Sap.
Longer there. No, that's for, wait till we get to Marcus Smart, Julius Randle on either or.
I want Marcus Smart, LeBron, I think is how.
Yes, that's a viable comparison. I have the Lakers at number 2. I still have my questions because we're going to see what it's going to be like when Anthony Davis comes back. If he comes back at 100%, which I think he will, but that's a delicate injury. When you start talking about Achilles and calves, that's not an easy injury to deal with. And I got Brooklyn number 1. I agree with Mike. They look like the favorite right now. I do think if the Lakers are healthy, a bold take that Brooklyn's going to win the title and Brady's going to repeat next year, right, Mike? Look, they're clicking on all cylinders without Kevin Durant.
He likes the Dodgers this year in baseball.
Like the Dodgers. And how about the Tampa Bay Lightning? They look unbeatable in hockey as well. And you know what? Another bold take. Rafael Nadal will probably win the French Open. But yeah, Brooklyn looks really strong. They could implode, though. I think, Mike, you brought up that really good point that there's like 90% sell on Brooklyn, right? Like, wow, this team can almost, just blow through the playoffs. But there's a 10% chance in there that things don't work out. But I go Phoenix 5, Clippers 4, 76ers 3, Lakers 2, Brooklyn 1. And I got Utah at number 6 outside the top 5, even though they have the best record. I'm not sold on them. They remind me of the Atlanta Hawks from 6 years ago. a team that won 60 games and then lost in the conference finals, getting swept by LeBron and the Cavaliers. So that's it for me.
All right, Mike, what do you got?
All right, so I thought I had my list set, but then I listened to everything Sap was saying, and I had to analyze it some more. So I had to swap out my number 5 team because my number 5 team was Phoenix. I had Phoenix as my number 5 team. I love Chris Paul, and I love the fact that he's taking, Phoenix to another level. Booker and Ayton already, I think, make a great tandem, but I think Chris Paul just gives him that extra oomph, and Monty Williams is a great coach, but a team that sits at number 5, in my opinion, is the Portland Trail Blazers. I think Portland is doing a phenomenal job right now, and they have lost. Well, they had lost C.J. McCollum and Nurkic for the pretty much first half of the season. That's been all Damian Lillard carrying that team, with a little bit of Carmelo Anthony splashed in there as well. But they're holding on to the 5th seed right now. And they're holding on to the 5th seed, and they are going to get Nurkic back. They're going to get C.J. McCollum back. And Dame Lillard is doing his thing. And they've added a little bit more talent to their roster to kind of support Damian Lillard and CJ. They've added a couple guys who can do a few more things. And some of the younger guys have stepped up a little bit as well. So I have Portland sitting as my number 5 team. Number 4. Number 4, I got to give it to Utah. I think Utah, as well as they've been playing throughout the course of this season, yeah, they're sitting up there with the top teams, but do I really feel like, this is Utah's year to make it to the finals and win the whole thing on the back of Donovan Mitchell? I don't believe so. Donovan Mitchell's great. Don't get me wrong. But after Donovan Mitchell, who's the next guy on that team? Don't tell me Rudy Gobert. Like, he's big, he can rebound, he can block, but like, he's not a dominant guy like an Embiid. He's not a dominant guy like a Joker in Denver, but he's pretty solid. So after Mitchell, I don't know who the next guy is. Mike Conley, is he their number 2 guy? Like, I don't know. I think they're playing well. I like that comparison you made, Sep, to the Atlanta Hawks, because they're just a solid team playing well together. And you can even go further back to like the 2004 Detroit Pistons. As a team, they're playing well. As a team, they're playing well, but do they, other than Donovan Mitchell, who's really that next guy? I don't know. So I don't have them at the top of the list, but they can hold on to that number 4 spot. Number 3 has to be the Philadelphia 76ers. And I mean, I think I said this earlier, Embiid is playing some inspired basketball right now. And I do feel like, after they got Brett Brown out the picture, Doc Rivers stepped into the system, stepped into the team with his own system, his own philosophy, and he kind of cleared out roles for everybody. Simmons is the guy. Embiid is the guy. He's the focal point of that offense. They'll get Embiid the ball, post him up, set him up pretty much anywhere on the court, and he can get you a bucket. He can hit the 3, he can post you up, he can hit a little mid-range. They'll go to him for a bucket. Tobias Harris is a guy who we all knew can get buckets, but he was on that like Chris Middleton type of level. Like he's a solid player, but never had that extra pizzazz to really.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison.
Very good.
You can't put a team on Tobias Harris's back. You can't put a team on Chris Middleton's back, but it'll get you some buckets. And then Embiid is kind of like, the spoon that stirs the pot. He's not going to be the one out there getting all the points, but he'll play solid defense. He'll make some plays on offense. If he'll cut to the basket, get an easy bucket there, like he'll do those little things that help the team share the ball and how, they don't mind seeing the other guy do well. But who knows if Harden misses a shot in a clutch moment or Irving misses a shot in a clutch, sometimes them other guys have that feeling, it should have been me. It should have been me in this position. It should have been me. These guys are alpha males. You can argue that they're not maybe alpha males on the court, whatever, but these guys are shot makers and shot takers. So who knows if they might clash in situations, especially get into, tight playoff games. They could implode. Like, we hope it doesn't happen. You would figure that as veteran players in this league with a couple of championships.
No, I hope it happens.
Me too, especially against the Lakers in the finals.
You would think that, Durant has a few championships under him. Irvin has a championship under him. You would think that they know what it takes to get there and win. But at the same time, there's only one basketball to go around. So who knows? So I have them at number 2. And you guys know as I'm not a Lakers fan, as much as I'm not a LeBron fan, the fact that the Lakers, won the championship last year and they improved. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go into the next season and improve. That's stuff that you clearly don't understand or know about, thanks to Danny Ainge. But the Lakers won the championship and they improved and have a better team than they had when they won the championship in the bubble. So as long as they get healthy, I think they'll take their time with Anthony Davis and that injury. They'll take his time because they'll believe LeBron James, can carry the load and make anybody win next to him. They'll take their time with Anthony Davis. And once he gets back and that team is fully healthy, the Lakers are still a top team in my opinion. But the Brooklyn Nets will give them a run for their money as long as they stay clicking on all the cylinders together. So that's my 5 right there.
Sap, I feel like Mike hit all your, your bingo cards. He complimented Chris Paul and Monty Williams, who you love. He
love them both.
He put the Lakers higher than you did.
Yeah.
And
gotta be
he even gave Ben Simmons a little shout. Inadvertent, but he still gave Ben Simmons a shout. Everything on Sap's list, Mike has checked off. So, I mean, Sap, I'm sure you couldn't be happier with the top 5 for Mike.
No, I think we're all in agreement on who the real contenders are. It's just a matter of how it shakes out in the postseason.
Oh, and the last thing that he checked off your list was he insulted Danny Ainge. So perfect.
There you go. Perfect.
We can have a whole podcast on me insulting Danny Ainge.
Yeah. And we have with me doing it. So my top 5, just before we get out of here, Clippers at 5. I can't deny the 2 wing talents, even though, yes, they do seem to have some problems in the clutch, Sap. I think they'll figure that out. Kawhi Leonard can be pretty clutch on his own.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that they will make a move, though, to improve that team. The Lakers at 4. I don't think they're going to stay there. I think they'll move up, but I'm doing it right now. And they've struggled with Anthony Davis in the lineup. When he comes back, I'm sure it will fix itself, no problem. But I'm saying right now, I have them at 4. 76ers at 3 for all the reasons you guys said. Embiid's playing the best basketball of his career. I have him atop my MVP ladder. I think that they're a really well-built team. I do think that they could use some more depth, and maybe they'll go out and try to get a piece at the deadline to add to their bench depth, maybe some more shooting. I have the Jazz at 2. I don't think they're going to stay there either. I think they'll end up flip-flopping with the Lakers is my guess, because I don't, like Mike said, who's going to give you 30 besides Donovan Mitchell? I mean, Conley, Bogdanovich. I don't know who the hell it's going to be. So, and then I have the Nets
Clarkson.
at 1. I have the very painful task of having to put the Nets at 1. I don't see how anybody beats them. I legitimately don't see how anybody beats them right now. And it kills me. I do see one way that you beat them. They beat themselves. They have to implode. That's the only way they lose. I just don't think anybody can score with them. It's not a fair task. It's an unreasonable collection of talent.
Yeah, it's that team is really couldn't be something special. That team can be something special indeed.
It's individually better than the threesome in Golden State. Like if you just start comparing,
individually better. Yeah,
individually
I agree
better. But I don't know if it fits as well.
No,
Steph to me, if we're power rank, like Durant's pretty much. Well, first of all, Durant was better in Golden State than he is in Brooklyn because he's coming off all these injuries. And Golden State, he was 3-4 years younger. So in theory, he was better then than he is now because of the injuries. After that, I'm taking Steph as the next best player out of the 4 other guys. Then I'm going to go Harden. Kyrie's a better talent than Klay Thompson, but Klay fits better. I mean, it's just weird. And let's not forget,
it's hard with Klay.
They had Draymond Green and Andre Iguodala too.
Yeah, it's hard with Klay because he's only been on. He's never been an alpha, and he's only been on the one team. We've seen Kyrie now on 3 teams. Yeah, we know the individual talent. We also know where the failures lie in Kyrie's individual talent too.
Yeah, I mean, he's
so
the
I think Klay Thompson's hard to evaluate in a superstar perspective because he's only been the number 2 guy or sometimes the number 3 guy in his career on one team.
And that's scary though, because he's so damn efficient. I think he's of those 4 players other than Durant, he's the best defender. I mean, he's a better defender certainly than Steph, Harden, or Kyrie. So I mean,
it's not close. He's lapped the field with that one.
That pretty much fit better than like Brooklyn is like a circus like on any given night, you could say, "Holy crap, that's the best threesome
They're the
we've ever
Globetrotters.
seen."
Exactly.
Yeah, the Globetrotters, especially. Yeah, I mean, the best threesome I ever saw. And again, I'm really old, and one of the guys was past his prime. But when you put Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, and Jerry West on the same team, you're talking about 3 of the 12 greatest players in the history of the sport. They were all on the back end of their career. These guys, in theory, are all in their prime. I mean, Kyrie's still young. Harden, he's going to age well because he doesn't play a real athletic game. It's kind of like Paul Pierce in that sense. Like I could see Harden at 40, dominating pickup games. And
Clearly doesn't need to be in good shape. Yeah,
no, obviously. I mean, we showed up to camp looking fatter than me, and then Durant doesn't need to play with athleticism because he's so damn efficient. So yeah, they're extremely scary. Oh man, they're scary. But again, you got Mike D'Antoni in there, and that's an X factor because he really has never brought a team to the finals. I know he's the assistant coach there, but I'm not crazy about their coaching staff. But you know what? When you get that type of talent, you kind of trump it anyway.
They have D'Antoni, and they have another veteran coach who.
Dave Yeager, I think, is on there. Is he on their staff too?
Blank on there.
Is Lawrence Frank still there, or is he with the Clippers? No, he's with the Clippers now.
No, he's with the Clippers. They
have a couple of veteran coaches. Sam Cassell's with Doc Rivers now. I don't know. I think you're right though, Mike, that they have a couple former head coaches on their staff.
Kyrie is the coach, so at least he said he is. Yeah, he doesn't need to say
Stoudemire.
Hey, Mari Stoudemire's on that staff.
He sure is.
Is he really? I hope.
His old buddy Steve Nash gave him a job.
I hope Amari runs into Meyers Leonard because Amari.
Oh yes, Amari is a Jewish guy. He is a Jewish man. He found out during his career that he was Jewish.
Yes. So
we got one, Sap.
Yep, there you go.
Amari.
Yep.
Jacques Vaughn.
Jacques Vaughn. Yep. That's a good coach. I mean, I thought he was going to get a head job, and he did for a while. He was an interim coach. So, yeah, I mean, Steve Nash is a figurehead, and D'Antoni, I think
they don't need a coach.
No, they really don't. I mean, because, in the end, Harden is the guy that handles the ball, and Durant is like the perfect default, right? I mean, here you go, Kevin, just bail us out because there's no way
what I do think stopped. Will be funny, though, interesting is if, and possibly, according to Mike, when the Nets win the title, everybody's going to pile on Durant again and say you need another super team to win a championship. And he's gonna be sniping at people on Twitter. He's never gonna get what he wants, which is somebody to say you're better than LeBron James and you won this all by yourself. He's never gonna get it.
Right.
I mean, LeBron's never won a championship by himself either. So
but people give it to him. People won't give it to Durant.
No one has. I mean, I know Michael Jordan is,
played with a bunch of stiffs.
Yeah, played with a bunch of stiffs. Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, all those guys. But no one's won it by themselves. I mean, Moses Malone probably came the closest. He brought the worst team I've ever seen in the finals, a 40-42 Houston Rockets team to the finals. They lost to the Celtics in '81. But yeah, I mean,
I was saying this is a super team. This Nets team is a super team.
This is by definition a super team.
Yes,
this is better than. I mean, this is better than what the Heat had because as great as LeBron is, I don't think he ever really fit with Dwayne Wade. They really had to work at that, even though they're great friends. And Bosh really got marginalized because sometimes the third guy with LeBron kind of falls out of favor.
Yeah, Bosh isn't as good as any of those three guys they have.
No,
Brooklyn.
Wade certainly is, but it didn't really fit with LeBron and Wade. Wade made it work because Wade's such a great leader, and he ceded the captaincy, if you will, to LeBron and let him be the leader.
Yeah, so I mean, it'll obviously Brooklyn is the team that's the most intriguing in the NBA, and it has been since the beginning of the season. Everybody acknowledges that because of the potential for them looking like the Monstars from Space Jam, or the potential of them completely imploding. You'll never know. Like a team that got all their power sucked away in Space Jam. By the way, a new Space Jam movie coming out soon with your guy LeBron.
You see my hand? You see my finger? You see how I was pointing my thumb?
You see it?
I'm not looking forward to this.
It's not out yet, Sap.
I wouldn't pay $1 for it. I tell you that. I'll watch.
Here's what we're gonna do, Mike. I'm gonna give you my HBO Max login. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna review it on this podcast. Sap, you too.
I'm for it because you know what? I'm not happy about it. Why couldn't he make his own movie?
He's a better actor than Jordan.
Why didn't he make his own movie?
Hey, look, I agree. I don't like the fact that LeBron wears number 23. I wish he should have his own number. It should have been 24 because he's one better than Jordan. So have your own number. I get that.
Did you see the plot for this movie? By the way,
would you like him to make
nonsensical?
Hamlet?
Yes.
What is he supposed to make? Hamlet?
I don't give a damn what he makes. Why he has to make another Space Jam? Make your own movie. If you're so the great King LeBron, why do you need to make a Space Jam sequel? Because you just want to be like this guy so much.
He should have been nominated for what was the movie he was in?
Trainwreck.
Trainwreck. Should have been nominated for that. I thought it was fantastic.
Like 5 lines.
He was great. He was fantastic. Best supporting actor, without question. Come on. He's got a better personality than Michael Jordan. You got to give him that much.
Look, Michael Jordan was just an assassin. Who cares about your person? When you're just an assassin.
Oh, Mike, you're getting it. We're wading in the territory. This is just like chum for Sap. He hates when people say that about Jordan or Kobe.
Jordan's just an assassin.
LeBron has more game-winning shots in the playoffs than the both of them combined. I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
you've waded into very dangerous territory here.
Game-winning shots.
That's an assassin. Kobe had 1 game-winning shot in his entire playoff career. Listen, Jordan had 3. LeBron has 5. I know. It's just.
I know all of Sap's traps that he tries to set now because we do the show all the time together. You've walked into very dangerous territory.
And I'm the anti-Skip Bayless as I have my Lakers mask.
He's getting very upset. Sap's getting very upset. 2 things you can't say around him. Anything that remotely criticizes LeBron or anything that remotely criticizes Aaron Rodgers.
That's right.
You're really poking the bear.
leave my guys alone.
It upsets him greatly. He's going to go. After the show, he's going to go pound his desk and probably pound some food.
I already did that. That's already done. I respect
how you defend your guys, though. I respect that.
Mike is right. He shouldn't have made a new Space Jam, especially one that's plot sounds like a 2-hour advertisement for HBO Max.
Well, I want to run this by Mike because you gave me you planted the seed for a column I just posted on Full Press Coverage where we talked about in the last podcast, Mike, that LeBron is being very private about taking the vaccine, and look, I respect his privacy. But because he's such a leader and so popular that I think if he gets out there and cuts a PSA to say it's very important to get the vaccine, especially for people in, communities of color, that he can maybe push some people to get the vaccine, which would be helpful. And I understand in the Black community, there's hesitancy with vaccines because of all of the horrible things that have been done to African Americans over the years. I went even farther and said that why not have LeBron and Michael Jordan come together and cut a PSA? I mean, you're talking about the 2 best players in the history of the sport, the 2 most popular athletes still in the country. They could really save lives. So that's kind of a column I wrote. I know I'm going to get backlash, saying it's none of your business or LeBron has to stay out of all these issues, but LeBron does weigh into a lot of these issues, and that's one of the reasons I like him so much. But I don't know what you think of that. If I don't think Jordan would do it because he's kind of a recluse and he's never really embraced LeBron. I think LeBron would do it. He idolized Jordan, but I think that would be pretty powerful if you had the 2 greatest players in the history of the sport cut a PSA encouraging people in their community to get the vaccine.
Yeah, if LeBron James and Michael Jordan ever cut a PSA on anything, they could sell me to drink goat milk or something. Like it doesn't matter what they cut.
Good play on words too, goat milk.
They could,
and it would be LeBron drinking the milk before Jordan.
No.
Just to make sure.
Okay.
I'll make sure people understand the order there.
No. But if LeBron James and Michael Jordan came together and made a PSA about anything, it would. Would look at it and follow and listen because you're talking about 2 powerful guys, in the public eye. I mean, yes, LeBron James is out there. He speaks his mind. He's out there taking a stance, and it's great. I know that soccer player. I don't even know his name.
Abramovich.
Yeah, he came out and said LeBron needs to mind his business with stuff and just stay as an athlete. I think that guy's a complete moron with that statement. I think LeBron should continue to speak.
Sap unloaded on him the other week when we did this show.
Yes.
He's got the knowledge. And like LeBron says, he does his homework. He does his research. And he has a platform to speak on it.
Absolutely.
Michael Jordan, on the other hand, as great as a player he was, that was never his personality. I respect LeBron. He has that personality. Michael Jordan never had that personality. He just had the talent, so people pushed him to the spotlight to be that type of person, and he's just never been that person. He's just never been comfortable. But again, like you said, I agree. If they came together and made a PSA about something that is the vaccine, people would listen and follow. It'd be very powerful. It definitely be powerful. So I agree with you making that statement and saying that those two powerful athletes, public figures, it would make a difference if they did something like that for sure. I believe people would look at it as like, wow.
Yeah.
If they do now, Sapp kind of gets the credit for it. I mean, I initially came up with the idea. Sapp wrote
came up
the
with
article.
the idea. Well, you came up with the idea.
I feel like medals
LeBron,
will be deserved.
I was very giving, like LeBron is. I included Michael Jordan, and then I also think that, and I don't want to sound like I'm, being kissing people's butts here. I think that two people that could make this happen are actually friends to both LeBron and Michael Jordan. Would be President Obama and Oprah Winfrey, and talk about powerful people. They could make something like this happen. I remember during
we said on Monday, Sapp, that Jordan won't do it of his own volition. He have to be cajoled into doing it,
and it would have to be like Obama or Oprah, because Oprah's got more money than him, and Obama was president. He probably looks at LeBron as an inferior as a player and doesn't have the wealth that Jordan has. So yeah, that I think that would just be so momentous, because we saw Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar get the vaccines. Now they're right in the age group where they're most vulnerable. And they were social leaders before it was chic to be social leaders. And as great as Russell and Kareem are, they don't have the brand of Jordan and LeBron. So I think that message would be very helpful.
I agree. I mean,
Thank you.
To see. It would be something to see.
Yeah. I like to run my ideas by everybody.
No, it's good.
I won't keep taking those backhanded comments you're making about Jordan now. I don't like those. I don't.
I'm not. Mask. Jordan's phenomenal.
Would you get a Trailblazers mask if LeBron went to the Trailblazers?
Oh, Nuggets if he's in Denver. Yeah, I mean, Il Messaggero if he plays in the Italian league. Whatever league
doesn't care what team he's on.
Doesn't care. Whatever LeBron's on, I'm his guy.
Join the Celtics. He'd suddenly be the biggest Celtics fan.
Man. Well, remember when he was going to be a free agent and they were like, I don't know if
LeBron could play in the North Korean league.
I would be right there with Kim Jong-un.
For Coach Kim Jong.
Yep, Kim Jong-un would be Kim Jong-un, of course, averaged 100 points per game in that Korean league, North Korean league. But what I do think you could see with that, and I've totally lost track of what I was going to say. So, Jet, you can wrap it up because I'm starting to just blabber on. I have. It's way past my bedtime. I mean, it's like the Seinfeld skit when, they had the late meetings for Jerry's dad so that they'd get rid of him. That's kind of me.
That's why we do these shows at night, so we can make sure we don't go too long.
Well, again, you get me out of sorts.
This has been the Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sapp with our special guest, Mike Molyneaux from Double M Media. Mike, please tell everybody where they can find you, what you're doing, because you're doing awesome stuff. You're basically building a network from the ground up. So give your Twitter, give your any place people can find you. I want to know how to do it.
Yes. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr._Mike Nice. And I'm also, like Jet said, the co-founder of Double M Media. We're out on all platforms. You can see us on YouTube as well. Follow us on IG at double_M_media. Follow us on Twitter at @double_M_media_. We're on season 3 right now. We're on season 3. We've had some cool special guests come through. When the month
and you just added a new show, right?
We just added 2 new shows. We have one new show called Soul Brothers Groove. It's all about music and hip hop and just breaking down artists and albums and analyzing things of that nature. And we also have another podcast coming out called Sundays with Sayonara and Kai. It's all about, girls talk and mental health and having conversations around. Like you said, we're building a media network led by Double M Live with myself and my co-host, Marvin Azan, a.k.a. DJ Mees. Double M is growing, and I appreciate, you guys giving me the opportunity to be on here with you guys and to shout Double M out. We're doing our thing. So, yes, make sure you follow Double M Media for sure.
Yeah, and I take a lot of pride in the fact that you're building a media group from the ground up too, because I feel like I'm somewhat responsible because I helped you with all the background of StreamYards and playing. So it makes me look good when you look good.
Jet, if it wasn't for you, I don't know where we'd be in this season 3, because you blessed. I'm telling you, and I say blessed, and that might be blessing is what you are, because StreamYard has been such a great, addition to the show. And it's because of you that we're making it happen. So thank you. Can't say it enough.
John Sapichetti is the godfather because he discovered both of us. So
yes. Do you guys need me to leave the room so you guys can have a close?
It's a love fest.
Together?
Every time me and Mike are on, it's a love fest.
I know. I love both of you guys.
Don't worry. If we get Shannon Sharp on, Sap, it'll be a love fest between you and Shannon.
Absolutely. He loves LeBron and Aaron Rodgers as much as I do. Maybe more.
It's possible. So go find Mike at all of those places. Check it out because it's awesome stuff. And it's really for anybody, if you like sports, music, culture, entertainment, whatever. They got all that stuff covered. It's also just nice to get away from some of the traditional media, as we can hear on the radio. It's sort of boring and stale, which is why Sap and I have chose to do this because, we're original people. So you can find Mike at all those places. Sap, you can find him on Twitter at JohnSap25. He is writing articles that have been inspired to him from my mouth. So obviously they're probably good articles. I would read them if I were you. My ideas are world renowned. And now from my brain to John Sapichetti's pen, although not pen, I found out, Mike, this is the last thing I'm going to say before we exit the show. This is an insane thing that Sap does. He doesn't have a computer, but he writes columns every week on his phone like a psycho.
Wow.
He types them out on his phone, on his iPhone.
That's a lot. That's time consuming. I'm
the Leonardo. Well, I'm the Leonardo da Vinci of my time. So, 400 years from now, you'll understand where I'm coming from.
Get a keyboard, Sap. Get a keyboard.
I have a keyboard on my phone. It's fine.
That must take hours.
No, I'm pretty good at it. I'm actually pretty good at it because my eyes are so bad. I see the small phone better than I would a laptop. As bizarre as that sounds.
It's insanity.
Whatever
to write columns on your phone is absolute insanity.
Good stuff.
But you can find him there, and you can find me at Jetstride on Twitter. We are on Spotify. We're on Full Press Coverage, who we're also presented by. We're on fullpresscoverage.com. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We are on Spreaker. We're everywhere. Everywhere that you want to find something to listen to, we have found a way to snake our way in there. So, again, thanks a lot to Mike Molyneaux for joining us. We will be back on Friday with some more NBA stuff as the season kicks into full gear. The second half of the season kicks into full gear tonight and tomorrow. Mr. Sapichetti, Mr. Molyneaux, always a pleasure. And I will see you guys, you listeners. Well, I won't see you, but you will see me on Friday. All right. Take care, everybody. See ya. That does it for part one. Remember to tune in tomorrow for part two of the Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sap with special guest Mike Molyneaux.